Welcome to South Asia Today, a show that provides you the glimpses of South Asia. I'm your host Yeshi. Here are the headlines. Afghan women open library to counter growing isolation. Rohingya refugees mark 5th anniversary of exodus in Bangladesh. And honey production is in full swing in India's Kathua city. Let's begin the show. Rivers in India are the backbone of human civilization. They provide us with fresh water, which is the essential component for human survival. Without rivers, life would come to a halt. If we talk about the river Ganga, it is considered a holy river and is worshipped by Hindus. To keep the river Ganga and its tributaries clean, the National Mission for Clean Ganga is working tirelessly towards rejuvenating the rivers and is ensuring that the flow of clean water remains intact. Have a look.
India's fight against compounding pollution levels in the country is multidimensional. India has not just doubled down on its decarbonizing efforts to meet the global net zero goals, but has also adopted a systematic approach to bring about exhaustive change in the country's environment. An intensive cleaning of the river systems, especially the Ganges basin that feeds the drinking and domestic use water needs of hundreds of millions of Indians, was identified as an area that called for immediate state attention. A blueprint was devised, teams were structured, and the mission took off in 2014 under the aegis of the Namami Ganga, a flagship government program responsible for the abatement of pollution, conservation, and rejuvenation of the river. 8 years down the line, the results are here to see. The efforts have not only resulted in halting further deterioration of the rivers, but have successfully brought water quality levels to the potable standards.
नमामि गंगे के प्रयास और नमामि गंगे के साथ में जितने संस्थान जुटे हैं, चाहे वाइल्ड लाइफ इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ इंडिया हो या दूसरे एनजीओज हों, उन सब के साथ जुड़ने के कारण से ये गंगा के शुद्धिकरण, गंगा को निर्मल और अविरल बनाने का जो आंदोलन था, ये आंदोलन एक जन आंदोलन का स्वरूप लेता जा रहा है.
Indian sewage treatment capacity has been enhanced multifold in the past few years as well. In the last 8 years, hundreds of projects have begun aimed at decontamination, treating raw sewage flowing into water bodies, and to revive the flow of the stagnant water to improve quality and purity of these crucial water resources. In just 6 months of 2022, 27 sewage treatment plants with the capacity of around 800 million liters per day were established, with around 1,300 million liters per day worth of projects more to be established in the remaining months of the year. As a result of such endeavors, the quality of the water of the river Ganga has gone above the satisfactory level in a significant portion of the river's course. The current stream of Ganga is the purest that people have seen in their lifetime.
The Namami Ganga program, so far in the last 7 years or 8 years, we have sanctioned projects worth about 31,000 crore, and nearly 25,000 crore worth STPs have been sanctioned. These projects are in various phases of completion. 96 of them have been completed. Almost 5,000 million liters daily of sewage, untreated sewage, which used to go to the tributaries and Ganga main stem, has been treated and now put into the river.
A massive afforestation drive to create and further preserve flora and fauna have been undertaken along the Ganges basin to protect the mighty river and improve the purity of the water that flows through it. Apart from this, soil conservation and water harvesting projects too have revived the biodiversity of the region. The Namami Ganga project is turning out to be a bigger blessing than what was even initially thought. The government is also encouraging farmers to transition to organic farming. Farmers have also been incentivized under the Organic Hot initiative, where the farmers can sell their organic crops without any hindrance.
ऑर्गेनिक में जो है सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि हमें जो है मार्केट रेट से हम जो खुला जो है 30% ऊपर बेच सकते हैं मार्केट रेट से अपना सामान को. अभी सभी चीज़ मिलता है, दालें हो गई, सब्जी हो गई, स्पाइसेस, पल्सेस वगैरह सब है.
In what can be called an integrated effort to accomplish its mission, The national mission for Clean Ganga has attracted nearly all stakeholders. Thousands of volunteers have responded with their tireless contribution towards the mission. India's rapidly growing capacity at handling even momentous projects like Mission for a Clean Ganga reflects the brand it has matured into.
Since the Taliban took over as the de facto rulers in Afghanistan last year, the country has seen a rapid decline, whether in terms of women's rights or humanitarian crisis. The hardliner Taliban constantly imposed several restrictions on women, including banning girls from high schools. To get rid of its ongoing situation and counter growing isolation, Afghan women's rights activists opened a library in capital city of Kabul. We have a report.
Afghanistan's economic situation is constantly deteriorating since the Taliban took over the country last August. Be it the basic human rights, malnutrition or humanitarian crisis, the country continues to struggle with multidimensional challenges. Right groups and UN agencies have described this past year as one riddled with broken pledges to respect women's rights. The Taliban has imposed several restrictions on women, which include restricting them from receiving secondary and higher education, not leaving the home without a male relative, and always keeping their faces covered. For the violation of Taliban laws, they can even be submitted to punishments like public flogging. In such a situation, a few Afghan women's rights activists are giving a ray of hope to the women of the country. They have opened a library in the capital Kabul with the hope to provide an oasis for women increasingly cut off from education and public life under Taliban rule.
از طریق ایجاد کتابخانه مقاومت مدنی زنان را برای گروه‌هایی که مخالف زن هستند، مخالف حضور زن هستند، مخالف فعالیت زنان هستند نشان بدیم که اگر شما دروازه‌های مکاتب را بسته بکنین، اگر شما محدودیت تحصیلی برای دانشجویان وضع بکنین، اگر شما از یک هویت، از یک نسل شما انکار بکنین، ولی زنای افغانستان حالا زنایی هستند که باسواد شدن، خودشان را میشناسند و توانایی از این را دارند که در جامعه بیاین و خودشان را تعریف بکنند.
The library has more than 1,000 books, including novels and picture books, as well as non-fiction titles on politics, economics and science. The books are mostly donated by teachers, poets and authors to the Crystal Bayat Foundation, an Afghan women's rights organization that helped set up the library. Several women's activists who have been a part of protests also helped to establish a library at a rented shop in a mall that has a number of stores catering to women.
برای از اینکه برای طالبا بفهمانیم که زنان این پیکری از جامعه است و نیاز مبرم است برای زنای افغانستان و زنان باید درس بخوانند و زنان باید کار کنند، مطالعه داشته باشند، چون زن با سواد باعث میشه که جامعه بهتر داشته باشه، جامعه آرامتر داشته باشه. هرچی آگاهی بالاتر بره و فکر میکنم خشونت ها کمتر میشه، جنگ کمتر خواهد بود. به او خاطر کتابخانه را ایجاد کردیم.
According to the international agency, in March, the Taliban made a U-turn on a promise to open girls' high schools. Most teenage girls now have no access to classrooms, and thousands of women have been pushed out of the workforce due to the growing restrictions and Afghanistan's economic crisis. The Taliban say they respect women's rights in accordance with their interpretation of Islamic law, and since March, they have been working on a way of opening girls' high schools. Western governments have stepped up their condemnation of the Taliban's widening elimination of women from public life. Many Afghan women have expressed frustration and have called out Taliban authorities to respect their rights. The last time the Taliban ruled Afghanistan was in the late 1990s. At that time too, women were not allowed to work outside. Girls were banned from schools and strict Islamic law was brutally enforced. And now they have again plunged the Afghan women back into the dark ages where they have even lost the right to life.
Moving on to Bangladesh. Rohingya refugees suffered decades of violence, discrimination and persecution in Myanmar. The migration that began in 2017 has marked its 5th year on August 25. Refugees living in squalid camps in southern Bangladesh want their safe return to their homeland Myanmar, longing for citizenship. We have a report.
These people holding placards are Rohingya refugees who marked 5th anniversary of their exodus since the start of a brutal military crackdown in Myanmar in 2017 that forced more than 730,000 to flee across the border. They rallied in a camp in Bangladesh demanding their safe return to Myanmar with the citizenship. Some carried placards and banners reading "No more refugee life" and 5 years full stop. Refugees at the Kutupalong camp in Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh said they were ready to return home.
তো আর আর যে তোমাদের তারা 2017 বাংলা দুরাদি বাংলা রেখে আজ বাংলা মারা ক বছর 5 বছর তো আর এদুল লম্বা রিফিউজি জিন্দেগি তাই তো খাড়াইতো না চাই তো আর এখন তো ইয়ার আর দেশত জেবইলা কিলই ডিগনিফাই জাস্টিফাই রিপারেশন তো আর কান চাই আর দে রোহিঙ্গা তো তারা আর রোহিঙ্গা যেত নহর আর যাবের আগত 3 রোহিঙ্গা হদিয়ান তারা তো কি করা করিব পার্লিমেন্ট আমার রেজিস্টার করে দুনিয়ারে ডিক্লেয়ার করে দিয়া করিব।
The vast majority fled to the Bangladesh border town of Cox's Bazar during a military crackdown in 2017 that the United Nations has said was carried out with genocidal intent. Around 919,000 Rohingya refugees are living at the Kutupalong and Nayapara refugee camps in Bangladesh's Cox's Bazar region, which have grown to become some of the largest and most densely populated camps in the world. Approximately 75% of those living in the Cox's Bazar region arrived in September 2017.
Anor bisargan ara 5 বছর পর্যন্ত দুনিয়ারে দি দুনিয়ায় তো ara হনক কদা কিনো দা জাননে শানো দে তো ara ইয়ানর bisargan ara দুনিয়ায় তো এখন সার ara ডেমনস্ট্রেশন ইবা গজি দে দুনিয়ারে দাহাই বল্লা দুনিয়ায় তো bisargan সার
বিচার দিলাম ara যাই বল্লা এখন তৈয়ার আছে কিলো তৈয়ার আছে আর সিটিজেন রাইট দেওয়া হইব নেগাতা আর সিটিজেন রাইট দিলে আর এখন যাইবলা তুই আসি আর বাংলাদেশের মধ্যে করতে আর মেদি নাই এখন যাইবলা তুই আসি আকান কথা আসলে আইডি খাই আমার একদিন হলে মানুষ গলা ইয়ে দে 7 বছর রাখি দিয়ে আর এখন যাই না আইডি খাই আমার যদি রাখার দইলে আর যাইবলা তুই নাই আর গেলে মোলা নেরা মাঝে পুগুললে আর এখন যাইবলা তুই আসি।
More than 1 million Rohingya are living in squalid camps in southern Bangladesh, comprising the world's largest refugee settlement, with little prospect of returning to Myanmar, where they are mostly denied citizenship and other rights.
Now, let's take a look at few happenings in Asia in a segment called Asia Watch.
Supporters of Najib Razak delivered a memorandum to the country's national palace in which they called for a pardon for the recently jailed former Malaysian premier. A court had upheld his prior guilty conviction on charges related to a multi-billion-dollar graft scandal at State Fund One Malaysia Development Berhad, sentencing him to 12-year jail and a 210 million ringgit, that is $46.84 million fine. Some supporters described the trial as hurried and said Najib was not presented with an opportunity to defend himself after the court had earlier rejected an effort by Najib to forestall the final verdict by requesting the removal of the Chief Justice from the panel. The federal court ruling caps the stunning downfall of Najib, who until 4 years ago governed Malaysia with an iron grip and suppressed local investigations of the 1MDB scandal that has implicated financial institutions and high-ranking officials worldwide. "48-year-old Nepalese mountaineer Sanu Sherpa recently received a roaring welcome upon his arrival to Kathmandu after setting a climbing record by scaling all the world's 14 peaks that are higher than 8,000 meters for the second time. He was welcomed with traditional dance, songs and colorful scarves after reaching the Tribhuvan International Airport. Sanu climbed 8 peaks which are above the height of 8,000, lies in Nepal, followed by 5 in Pakistan and 1 in China for the record 2 times each, a record that hasn't been set in mountaineering history to date. Nepal's Sherpas, the backbone of every climber, have been setting records on an annual basis. The aboriginals of the mountains Sherpas got into the business of climbing since their early childhood and have been supporting the Nepali economy by inviting more and more tourists. Metaverse is a next big revolution in technology and is attracting attention as a business opportunity in Japan. Metaverse Exhibition 2022 was recently organized in Japan. At the exhibition, people were seen enjoying different content from the visual reality universe. People also made their own avatars with the help of video synthesis technology using their own picture. This virtual reality space was developed by a temporary staffing company. It generates new jobs by utilizing people who work in the VR space. An avatar who accepts applications, participates on the internet and guides the VR space by speech and action. The metaverse technology is creating new business ideas and jobs which are turning into great business opportunities. The number of companies are developing metaverse technologies that are transforming human lives. This is a virtual reality space in Japan's Osaka city. The town is famous for its architectural wonders like Sotenkaku Tower and Shinsaibashi, which are a regular famous sightseeing spots in Japan. Tourists can easily experience life in the town of Osaka through this virtual reality model. A metaverse event named Virtual Market 2022 Summer was held in Osaka and New York, modeled on VR. Inside the town, corporate advertising and stores were on display, allowing visitors to become avatar to move freely around the VR town and shop. It also allows them to enjoy live show and game. Daimaru Matsuzakaya Department Stores, a long-established department store in Japan, sells summer gift products. Visitors can pick up the product and see it. As a unique content, visitors can see photos to learn about company's history. The staff avatar serving customers is a real employee. Staff avatar sells products while communicating with customers. A number of renowned Japanese artists and individual creators participated in the event. The metaverse is creating different business opportunities in different sectors and industries for people around the world.
Jammu and Kashmir is one of the most suitable beekeeping places in India owing to its natural resources and favourable climatic conditions. Tapping this potential, several youngsters across the territory are now investing in beekeeping. Here we bring you the story of one such young lad from Kathua border area who is reaping honey sweet success. Have a look.
This is Suresh Kumar, who hails from the border area of Hiranagar in Kathua. Kumar is actively involved in the process of honey production for the last few years. Starting from 5 bee boxes which he bought on subsidy from the Agriculture Department, today he has possession of more than 1,000 bee boxes. Along with it, Kumar has also established a honey processing unit in which he produces 5 to 6 quintals of honey per day. Around 12 varieties of honey are processed in his unit. At present, Kumar has an annual turnover of 80 to 90 lakhs and is earning a profit of 10 to 15 lakhs.
जैसे हमने शहद प्रोडक्शन करते थे तो हमें जो रेट मिलना चाहिए था वो नहीं मिलता था। हमसे ट्रेडर आते थे, खरीद के ले जाते थे सस्ते भाव में। हमने मतलब 50-55 में भी अपना शहद बेचा और उसके बाद हमने सोचा कि अगर हम प्रोडक्शन कर रहे हैं तो क्यों ना हम खुद की सेल ही करें। और मैंने खुद का अपना IFSS लिया और अपनी प्रोसेसिंग यूनिट बनाई। प्रोसेस करने में अगर हम मैनुअली करते हैं तो टाइम उसमें काफ़ी वेस्ट होता है और मैंने सोचा कि अपना प्रोसेसिंग यूनिट लगाएं। मैंने प्रोसेसिंग यूनिट मतलब ख़रीदा और आज मेरे प्रोसेसिंग यूनिट में 1 घंटे की 60 किलो इसमें प्रोसेस होता है। और हमने मतलब जो शायद हमारा 150 रुपये किलो बिक रहा था वो हम अब 400 रुपये किलो बेच रहे हैं। और हमने कई वैरायटियाँ तैयार करी हैं, जैसे अजवाइन हो गया, मेरे हाथ में भी आप देख रहे हो, तुलसी का शहद है, अजवाइन का है, तुलसी का है, मतलब 11 से 12 वैरायटी हम तैयार कर रहे हैं।
The nectar that bees gather from meadows, orchards, woodlands and gardens is regarded as one of the best in the world. Jammu and Kashmir, being home to all of them, with its land requiring very less pesticides, creates a favorable atmosphere for producing organic honey. Considering the same, many people across the Union Territory are embracing honeybee farming.
ये सुरेश भाई भैया हैं, इनके साथ काम करते हैं मिलजुल के। ये बी कीपर है, इन्होंने एक अपना यूनिट लगाया है प्रोसेसिंग का, हनी का। जे हम सारे इन्होंने KVI के साथ मिलके 10-10 बक्से दिए, इनको ग्रुप भी बनाया इन्होंने। वो पेटियां भी दे रहे हैं, वो बहुत अच्छा काम चल रहा है इनका। यूनिट लगने से एक तो बेरोजगारी दूर होगी, दूसरा है कि ये काम दे रहे हैं लेडीज़ को भी ये ट्रेनिंग करवा रहे हैं बी कीपिंग का, कि इसमें आ जाओ आप भी करो, क्योंकि बी कीपिंग में लेडी भी काम कर रही है बढ़ चढ़ के। तो हमारे इधर के लोग हैं कुछ डरते हैं, भी काम मक्खी हमारे को लड़ेगी, ये करेगी। ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, जब काम करेंगे तो पैसा आएगा। पैसा तो मेहनत करके ही आएगा, बिना मेहनत के तो पैसा आ नहीं सकता।
The authorities in Jammu and Kashmir have also been taking a number of initiatives to give a boost to the beekeeping industry. In Kashmir division, there are 70,000 bee colonies, but the government is now planning to take the number to 7 lakh in the next 5 years. That could generate employment for 1.14 lakh families. In the Jammu division, the government has set up a honey processing unit with 100 kilograms capacity and has registered 340 beekeepers for the facility. Jammu and Kashmir is estimated to produce about 70 metric tons of honey annually. And this amount is bound to increase in the coming years as a number of youngsters in the territory are opting for honeybee farming as a source of livelihood. The reason is, it does not need much investment apart from pollen and nectar from flowers, which is easily available in the territory.
It's time for me to wrap up today's episode. We will be back next week at the same time. This is Yeshi signing off on behalf of the entire production team of South Asia Today. Goodbye and take care.